They called my daughter a freeloader in front of the whole family. Then Grandma Margaret stood up, smiled, and asked the lawyer to read the heirs list. My name is Megan, and my daughter Chloe was 13 that year. The invitation looked polite on paper. Family get-together at Uncle Ray's. Dinner at 7. But in my family, gatherings weren't for warmth. They were for inventory. Who bought a bigger house? Who got a newer car? Who gained a better title? Who raised the right kind of kid? Everyone arrived dressed like a resume, and every compliment came with a blade hidden in the velvet. Uncle Ray's place was the kind of house that made you whisper by default. Marble floors that clicked under shoes. The air smelled like lemon polish and expensive cologne. I kept Chloe close, not gripping her hand, just staying near enough to catch the moment a smile turned sharp. Chloe walked in with her hair tied back and a simple cream dress, sleeves to the elbow, hem neat and modest. She'd chosen it because it didn't itch, and because it let her move her arms freely. Chloe played violin, and she held her body the way musicians do, straight without being stiff, calm without being cold. She didn't strut, she didn't shrink, she simply existed, and that quiet competence made certain adults in my family uncomfortable. In our family, effort was tolerated. Flash was adored. My sister Ashley adored Flash the way some people adore oxygen. Ashley had married Brian, a man who treated money like a language and expected everyone else to be fluent. Their 2 kids, Logan and Mia, were always dressed like mini influencers. Logos, shiny sneakers, hair styled into obedience. Ashley's laugh was bright and practiced, the kind that made strangers think she was kind and made relatives feel small. The room buzzed with small talk and wine glasses. I tried to breathe through it. My stomach told me trouble had arrived. Then Ashley spotted a group of adults by the fireplace. People she hadn't met yet. People she wanted to impress. Her eyes glittered. You could see her choosing a target the way a cat chooses a toy. She turned, and her smile snapped onto Chloe like a clasp. "Chloe!" she sang, like the name was a performance. Without asking, Ashley looped an arm around Chloe's shoulders, light but controlling, and steered her toward the group. Chloe stiffened. I moved with them, silent, positioned like a bodyguard who didn't want to start a scene. "Everyone," Ashley announced, "you have to meet my niece. Chloe, Megan's kid." The adults smiled, the polite smile of people being dragged into family dynamics they didn't request. Chloe gave a small nod, the kind she used at recitals when she was acknowledging applause. Ashley's fingers tightened on Chloe's shoulder. "She's a special one," Ashley said, stretching the word like it tasted strange. She flicked her eyes down Chloe's dress. "This is what she wears," Ashley added with a laugh. "Always simple. Always modest. Because," she tilted her head toward me like she was sharing gossip, "Megan can't really afford to give her the kind of life most kids have." The air shifted. A few smiles froze. Chloe's ears flushed pink. She didn't move, but I felt the small change in her breathing, the way it got shallower. Ashley kept going, because once she started, she never stopped. "But hey, at least she behaves," she said. "Not like those kids who demand things. Right, Chloe? You understand your mom's situation." She smiled wider, too wide. "It's not like your future is huge." A couple of people gave tiny laughs. My parents, seated nearby, laughed too light, supportive, the kind of laughter that says, "Don't be sensitive. This is normal." I watched Chloe's gaze drop to the floor for half a second, as if she could tuck herself away. I placed my hand on the middle of her back, warm and steady, reminding her, "You're here. You're real. You're not alone." Ashley leaned in for the final punch, the one she'd been saving. "Honestly," she said, voice sugary, "Chloe's lucky. If Grandma Margaret didn't help Megan out, Megan would still be freeloading. Probably forever. Freeloading about me, in front of my child, in front of strangers." My throat tightened so hard it hurt. I wanted to explode. I wanted to say every cruel thing I'd swallowed since childhood. But Chloe's shoulders were already pulling inward, and I knew an explosion would only make the room blame her for the mess. So I did the thing I'd learned to do in this family. I protected first. I turned slightly, putting myself between Ashley and Chloe, and I said quietly, "That's enough." Ashley blinked as if she hadn't heard me. "Relax," she said. "It's a joke." Then, from the head of the table, a glass clinked soft, deliberate. Grandma Margaret set her water down and stood. She was over 80, small but unshakable, the kind of woman who could silence a room without raising her voice. Grandma didn't rush. She didn't wobble. She stood like someone who had decided the room no longer belonged to the loudest person. Conversation faded. Even the music seemed to lower itself. Grandma walked toward Chloe first, not toward Ashley. She placed a hand on Chloe's shoulder, gentle as a blessing. "Are you all right, sweetheart?" she asked. Chloe nodded, but her eyes glistened. Grandma turned to Ashley with a calm smile that didn't reach her eyes. "You said freeloader," Grandma said. "Not a question." Ashley's laugh came out thin. "I was kidding." Grandma nodded once. "If it's a joke," she said evenly, "explain what's funny." Ashley's smile twitched. My parents shifted in their seats. Brian's jaw tightened. Grandma looked across the room and spoke to everyone. Not loud, just certain. "Since we're discussing people's futures," she said, "I have something to share." A man in a charcoal suit stepped forward from the hallway, someone I hadn't noticed. He carried a leather briefcase and the posture of someone who deals in final decisions. "This is my attorney," Grandma said. The room didn't gasp. It inhaled, all at once, like oxygen had been pulled away. Grandma opened a folder. "I plan to wait until the end of the year," she said. "But after what I just heard, I don't want to wait." Ashley tried, "Grandma, come on." Grandma lifted a hand. "Not dramatic. Final. Listen carefully," she said. And in that moment, I realized this wasn't Grandma smoothing things over. This was Grandma ending something. Grandma didn't clear her throat or ask for permission. She simply looked at Ashley the way you look at someone who has confused comfort with immunity. "Ashley," she said, "you use the word freeloader as if it were cute." Ashley's smile tried to reboot. "Grandma, I'm just teasing. You know how I am." "You're a grown woman," Grandma replied. "If you're teasing, explain the point." Ashley glanced around for allies. My parents gave her the subtle nod they'd always given. "You're fine. Keep going." Brian's hand touched Ashley's back, but his eyes were already calculating. Grandma turned to the room. "I've listened to this family speak about each other for decades," she said, always with jokes to hide the cruelty. Her gaze moved to my parents. "And you laugh along like it's harmless." My mother straightened. "Margaret, we're keeping the mood light." Grandma's eyes narrowed. "Light for whom?" she asked. "For the people doing the cutting." The attorney opened his briefcase and set a thick stack of paper on the table. In the silence, it sounded like a verdict. Grandma rested both hands on her folder. "I intended to announce this privately later," she said, "but since my money is a public comedy routine, we'll handle it publicly." Ashley let out a nervous laugh. "Wait, this is about money?" Grandma looked at her. "It's about what money turns you into," she said. Then Grandma named the truth. "I have supported this family because I believed comfort might soften you," she said. "It made you entitled, and it taught you that humiliating someone is entertainment." Ashley's cheeks pinked. "Grandma, you're being dramatic." "No," Grandma said. "I'm being specific." She nodded to the attorney, then spoke like someone reciting facts she'd already decided. "I have transferred the majority of my assets into an irrevocable trust." The word irrevocable landed like a lock clicking shut. Brian leaned forward. "Irrevocable?" he repeated. "Yes," Grandma said. "It cannot be undone." Grandma continued. "The trustee is Megan." My name hit the room like a thrown glass. Ashley's head snapped toward me. "What?" I didn't move. I felt Chloe's fingers find my hand. Grandma's eyes softened when she looked at Chloe. "The primary beneficiary is Chloe," she said. Silence turned heavy. Ashley's mouth opened. Closed. Grandma, that's insane. Chloe is a child. Grandma nodded once. A child who has managed to be kinder than every adult in this room. Brian stood up, voice sharp. Margaret, you can't punish my children because of a misunderstanding. I'm not punishing them, Grandma said. I'm protecting what I built from people who treat it like a vending machine. Ashley's voice rose. So because I made one joke, you're… No, Grandma cut in. This didn't start tonight. Tonight was simply the first time you did it in front of outsiders who don't owe you a laugh. My mother tried the soft control voice. Mom, we should talk privately. Grandma's smile went chilly. Later is how you keep getting away with it, she said. So no. Then she delivered the sentence that drained faces. Ashley, Brian, Logan, and Mia will receive nothing from my estate, Grandma said, each name clear. Ashley's skin lost color. Brian's jaw worked. My father's voice came out strained. Margaret, you're doing this to embarrass us. You embarrassed yourselves, Grandma replied. I'm simply refusing to pretend. Ashley lunged for a new story. Megan has been filling your head. She's bitter. She's jealous. Grandma looked almost amused. Jealous of what? She asked. Your ability to insult a child with a smile? Grandma slid the folder toward the center of the table. Copies are here, she said. If anyone wants to challenge it, my attorney will explain the costs. Ashley's voice cracked. Fix it. You can't do this. Grandma's tone softened, not in meaning. Or what? She asked. Ashley's eyes flicked toward Chloe, quick and ugly. I shifted Chloe behind me without thinking. My father stood, furious now. This is a family gathering. Grandma faced him. Then act like family, she said. Stop laughing when your daughter humiliates a child. My mother's eyes were wet, but with panic. Mom, please. No, Grandma said. I'm done financing your cruelty. Ashley's composure shattered. You're ruining our lives. Grandma didn't flinch. No, she replied. I'm stopping you from ruining hers. Ashley grabbed Brian's arm and marched toward the door. Logan and Mia trailed after them, offended and confused. My parents followed, my mother turning once as if she expected me to apologize for existing. The music restarted, awkward and thin. Nobody laughed. Chloe whispered, stunned. Mom, what just happened? I crouched beside her. Grandma protected you, I said, and she told the truth out loud. Grandma's hand rested on my shoulder, firm, grounding. Come by tomorrow, she murmured. We'll talk details. Outside, on the driveway, the cold hit my face like reality. Chloe kept looking back at the doorway as if Ashley might burst out again with a new insult. For a second, I worried Chloe would finally cry, but she didn't. She just asked, very quietly, Did I do something wrong? No, Grandma answered before I could. She had followed us out, coat already on, keys in her hand like she'd been prepared for this. You did nothing wrong, she told Chloe. You stood there and kept your dignity. That's harder than yelling. Chloe swallowed. But why me? She asked. Why? The company? Grandma's gaze sharpened with something like pride. Because you listen, she said. Because you practice when nobody is clapping. Because you don't treat skill like a costume. She touched the side of Chloe's head. And because you never once tried to make me buy your love. Grandma turned to me, voice low. They'll come for you first, she said. Guilt, then anger, then lies. Document everything, and don't let them talk to Chloe alone. They'll look for the softest door. Chloe's fingers tightened around mine. I won't open, she whispered. You won't have to, I told her. I'm here. Across the street, my parents' car pulled away fast, headlights slicing the dark. Ashley's SUV followed, too loud, like money could drown out consequences. Chloe watched until both taillights disappeared, then leaned into my side. I felt her tremble once, and I held on in the cold winter air, and I knew, as we drove home in silence, that the party had only been the opening scene. By morning, my phone would light up with concern, and by night it would turn to threats. But that evening, Chloe finally breathed like she could again. The retaliation didn't start with Ashley calling me. That would have required honesty. It started with other people, relatives who hadn't spoken to me in years, suddenly remembering my number still existed. On Tuesday morning, my phone buzzed while I was making Chloe's lunch. A cousin I barely knew. "Hey, are you okay? Aunt says Grandma's confused and you're handling her paperwork now." 5 minutes later, an aunt sent a voice note, soft and syrupy. "We're just worried someone might be taking advantage. You know how old she is." It was the same rumor in different outfits. Margaret is confused. Megan is controlling her. Chloe is being used. I stared at the screen and felt cold spread through my chest. Not anger yet, something flatter. Because the wording was too similar. Too coordinated. Chloe walked into the kitchen and read my face. "Mom?" I turned the screen face down. "Nothing you need to carry," I said. Her voice came smaller. "Is it because of me?" "No," I said. "Adults hate consequences." An hour later, the family group chat lit up, the one normally used for passive-aggressive scheduling and photos of food nobody asked for. Ashley posted first. "For everyone asking," she wrote, "Grandma signed documents she didn't fully understand. Megan has been isolating her and using Chloe to guilt her. If anyone actually cares about Grandma, please check on her. This isn't about money. It's about protecting her." I read it twice, then laughed once, sharp and alone, because nothing screams "this isn't about money" like a paragraph about documents. My mother replied with a praying hands emoji. My father wrote, "We need to fix this before it goes too far." An uncle asked, "Is Margaret even competent right now?" A cousin added, "Megan, you should let a neutral person step in." They weren't asking if Chloe was okay. They weren't asking why Ashley had humiliated a child. They were asking who controlled the door to the vault. I didn't argue in the chat. Arguing is what they wanted. A messy screenshot of me acting unstable. Instead, I did something boring and powerful. I took receipts. I screenshotted every message. I saved voice notes. I exported the chat thread. I made a folder on my laptop named Messages, because boring names keep you sane. Then I drove to Grandma's house. Grandma's home smelled like tea and clean linen. She looked up when I entered and read my expression immediately. "They've started," she said. I set my phone down and slid it across the table. "They're telling people you're confused," I said. "They're saying I made you sign something." Grandma scrolled, calm. She listened to the voice note, then nodded once. "So, that's the story Ashley picked," she said. My hands shook a little. "Can they undo it?" I asked, the fear finally admitting itself. Grandma didn't blink. "No," she said. "It was executed properly, with witnesses, capacity documentation, and counsel. They can scream. They can't reverse it." Relief hit me so hard I had to exhale slowly. Grandma picked up her phone and called her attorney on speaker. No drama, no mystery, just adults handling adult consequences. "Hello, Paul," Grandma said. "Yes, it's started. I want a cease and desist for defamation, and I want it clear. No one contacts the child. All communication through your office." I listened as her attorney asked a few questions and then said, calmly, "I'll send letters today." Grandma hung up and looked at me. "They'll escalate," she said. "When shame doesn't work, they'll try fear." That night, my father called. I watched his name ring on my screen and felt my stomach drop. I didn't answer. He left a voicemail, short and sharp, rage trying to disguise itself as authority. "Megan," he snapped, "you're going to fix this. You're going to stop embarrassing this family. Call me back." I saved it. 2 days later, my doorbell camera pinged while I was at work. There they were, my parents, Ashley, Brian, and the kids on my porch with matching smiles. When I got home, they were still there. I opened the door but didn't step aside. "Sweetheart," my mother began immediately, "we just want to talk. We've been praying." Ashley leaned forward, voice soft. "We love Chloe. We love you. We're family." My father cut in. "Enough drama. Tell your grandmother to stop this. There it was. Not an apology, a demand. I blinked. That's why you're here, I said. My mother clutched her chest. We didn't mean it. It was a joke. A joke is funny, I replied. That was humiliation. Ashley laughed lightly, like she still believed she could charm reality into changing shape. Oh, please, Megan. You're acting like we hit her. You laughed while she stood there, I said. My mother lowered her voice like she was offering a solution. Just tell Margaret you were emotional. Tell her you misunderstood. She'll calm down. I stared at her. You want me to lie so you can keep your access. Ashley's smile slipped. Don't be disgusting. I kept my voice steady. You're not welcome here. My father's face hardened. You're really choosing this. I'm choosing my child, I said. Ashley's irritation leaked through the sugar. It was one joke, she muttered, then added, just loud enough. And honestly, Chloe does act entitled sometimes. Behind me, I heard the smallest inhale, Chloe, in the hallway, caught by the sound of her own name. Something inside me went still. Get off my porch, I said. Ashley's face twisted. You think you won? I think you showed me who you are, I said. And I closed the door. Through the wood, I heard my father spit. This isn't over. I saved the doorbell footage. Date, time, receipt. After they left, I sat with Chloe at the kitchen table and told her the truth in plain language. Adults sometimes blame children because children are easier to pressure. I made a rule and wrote it on a sticky note by the door. Don't open for anyone. Don't answer questions. Call me first. Chloe nodded, blinking hard, as if she'd been holding her breath for years. Outside, the group chat kept buzzing, but inside, our boundary finally existed in writing. That evening, Grandma's attorney emailed me a copy of the letter he'd sent to them. No contact, no harassment, no attempts to communicate with Chloe, everything through counsel. It felt strange, seeing boundaries written in legal language like teeth on paper. And still, I couldn't shake Grandma's warning. They would look for the softest door. The first rule worked for about a week. Then Ashley tested it. I came home on a Thursday and knew something was wrong the second I opened the door. The air felt too still. Then I heard it soft crying from the dining room. Chloe sat at the table, cheeks wet, trying to wipe tears away before they could be seen. And across from her, sitting like she owned the chair, was Ashley. Brian hovered near the doorway. Logan and Mia were in the living room, their eyes drifting toward Chloe's violin case by the couch. Ashley looked up and lifted her eyebrows like I'd surprised her in my own home. Oh, she said brightly. Hey, my voice stayed low. What are you doing here? We came to see Chloe, Ashley said. We wanted to be nice. I moved to Chloe and touched her shoulder. Did you let them in? I asked softly. Chloe nodded, shame flooding her face. They said they were sorry, she whispered. I looked at her. What did they say? Chloe's words tumbled out. They said Grandma made a mistake, that she didn't understand what she signed. They said if I told her you misunderstood, she might change her mind. Chloe swallowed. And if I don't, I'll be the reason the family breaks apart. Ashley smiled like that was reasonable. We're trying to take the pressure off you, she said. I crouched beside Chloe and tipped her chin up. That is not your job, I said. That is not your burden. Behind me, a small snap sounded casual, wrong. I turned. Logan had Chloe's violin case open. Mia's fingers were on the bow hair. Logan held the violin by the neck, careless. Put it down, I said. It's just a violin, Mia muttered. It's her instrument, I replied. Put it down. Logan dropped it into the case with a dull knock and shut the lid. Chloe whispered, I told them not to touch it. I opened the case again. The E-string sat strangely loose. The bridge was tilted forward. The fine tuner was cranked tight, and there was sticky residue along one edge of the bow hair, sabotage disguised as curiosity. I looked at Ashley. Did you tell them to touch her violin? Ashley laughed lightly. Don't be paranoid. My hands shook, but my voice stayed level. Out, I said. Now. Ashley's sweetness cracked. You're unhinged, she snapped. You're turning Chloe against us. You came when I wasn't home, I said. You pressured my child, and you ignored her boundaries. Brian finally muttered, Ashley, let's go. They left with offended rage, like consequences were an insult. The moment the door shut, Chloe started apologizing. I didn't know, she said. They sounded sorry. Stop, I said, taking her hands. You trusted adults who should have acted like adults. That isn't your fault. Then I did the practical thing. I took photos. The tilted bridge, the slack string, the residue, the tuner. I drove the violin to our luthier. He examined it and frowned. Someone forced the bridge, he said. And this gunk on the bow will ruin the hair. He printed an estimate and wrote, Improper handling, deliberate tensioning. That night, I added the estimate to my folder beside the screenshots and doorbell footage. Then I called Grandma and told her the facts. They came when I wasn't home. They pressured Chloe. They tampered with her violin. Grandma went quiet, then said softly, I'll handle it. The next morning, her attorney sent a stronger notice. No contact, no visits, no messages through relatives. Any attempt to communicate with Chloe would be treated as harassment. 2 days later, Grandma called. They came to the company, she said. Security denied them. Everything was logged. That evening, Ashley left a voicemail sweet for 1 second, then venom. Fix this, she hissed, or you'll regret it. I forwarded it to the attorney. Then I sat on Chloe's bed. New rule, I said. We don't open the door for anyone. If someone shows up, you call me. No explaining, no negotiating. Chloe nodded, blinking hard. Okay. And if anyone tries to make you responsible for adult problems, I added, you tell me immediately. Her shoulders lowered like she'd been holding a weight. I will, she whispered. The weeks after that felt like living under a low ceiling. Ashley didn't respect the letter. She respected only what she couldn't bulldoze. She tried new numbers, new emails, new concerned relatives. An aunt showed up at Chloe's school, asking the receptionist if she could drop off a gift. The receptionist called me, and I drove there shaking. At Grandma's request, I started meeting with her attorney and accountant, learning the structure of the trust. What Chloe would receive at 18, what would be held until 25, what protections were built in so no one could charm or threaten a teenager into signing it away. Grandma explained it to Chloe, too, in language Chloe could hold without fear. This isn't a prize, Grandma told her. It's responsibility, and you don't owe anyone access to your future. Chloe began carrying her violin case like it mattered again. The luthier fixed the bridge, replaced the bow hair, and the first time Chloe played after the repair, the sound was hesitant for 3 measures, then steady. I stood in the hallway and listened, my throat tight, because the music sounded like a child reclaiming space. Ashley, meanwhile, kept trying to rewrite the story. In one message, she claimed Grandma was being manipulated. In another, she claimed Grandma was mentally declining. When those didn't land, she pivoted to me. I was greedy, unstable, poisoning Chloe. The accusations contradicted each other, but the point wasn't logic. The point was pressure. Grandma's response stayed the same, calm, documented, consistent. She instructed her staff to route every call through legal. She stopped the informal stipends she'd been giving my parents and Ashley for years, payments they called family support and treated like salary. The moment that money paused, the tone of their messages changed. The "we're worried" became "how dare you." The love became invoices. One night, after Chloe finished practicing, she asked, "Will they ever stop?" I brushed her hair behind her ear. "They'll stop when it stops working," I said. And I knew the next phase was coming, because people who live off entitlement don't accept no quietly. They run out of charm, then they run on desperation. Ashley had tried to use the soft door. She'd found it locked. 6 months after Uncle Ray's party, the smear campaign was dying not because Ashley had grown a conscience, but because it stopped getting oxygen. Grandma kept doing the same boring, powerful things. She showed up to meetings lucid and prepared. She signed documents in front of witnesses. She answered questions directly, and she saved everything. Every time someone implied she was confused, she responded with facts. The "Margaret is declining" story didn't survive contact with reality. Then the stipends ended. For years, Grandma had been sending what my parents and Ashley called family support. It was really a monthly lifestyle subscription. Money for mortgages, trips, cars, private schools, and the illusion that none of it required effort. Grandma had also paid consulting fees to Ashley and Brian fees that mostly meant appearing at charity events and smiling beside the company logo. After the party, Grandma reviewed it all. 6 months later, she stopped it. $0. No warning speeches. Just a quiet line item disappearing. That's when the messages turned feral. My father called from a new number and left another voicemail, louder than the last. "This is theft," he shouted. "You're stealing from your own family." He never mentioned Chloe. He never asked how she was sleeping. He spoke only about what he believed was owed. My mother tried a different tactic. Tears in text form. "I raised you better. You're breaking my heart. Family forgives." Then, when I didn't respond, she pivoted to blame. "Your grandmother is being poisoned against us. You'll regret this when she's gone." Ashley went for public performance. She posted vague quotes about betrayal and elder abuse, always with the same polished selfie, always with the same implication that she was the victim of someone else's greed. A few distant relatives commented hearts. Nobody who'd been in the room that night commented at all. Reality, however, doesn't care about curated captions. By the 1-year mark, the consequences were loud enough to hear from across town. My parents sold their house, not downsized, sold. Moving trucks, cardboard boxes. My father tried to get a job that matched his ego and discovered the world doesn't pay you for being confident. He quit 2 places after younger managers told him what to do. He called it disrespect. It was employment. My mother started listing barely worn designer items online like it was a business. It wasn't. It was liquidation. She wrote captions like, "Gently loved and worn once," as if the clothes could testify for her. Ashley had to work too. She lasted 3 weeks at the first job before complaining that her supervisor was jealous. She lasted 2 months at the second before a customer yelled back. At the third, she didn't even pretend to smile. Logan and Mia spiraled. They'd been raised like brands were basic human rights. When the labels disappeared, the tantrums didn't. A neighbor told a cousin who told another cousin who tried to tell me, as if it were gossip I should enjoy. I didn't. I didn't feel satisfied. I felt tired, because watching people fall apart is never as fun as they think humiliating others is. They kept trying to reach me anyway. New emails, new numbers, relatives used as messengers. Every message had the same core: "We miss you, we should talk, we're family," followed, eventually, by the real sentence: "Tell Margaret to fix this." I didn't respond. I forwarded what mattered to the attorney and ignored the rest. Grandma stayed steady. She didn't gloat. She didn't brag. She just kept building protections around Chloe like she was reinforcing a house before storm season. Chloe, meanwhile, did something miraculous. She healed in ordinary ways. She stopped flinching at the doorbell. She stopped scanning rooms for the first sign of mockery. She practiced violin in the living room instead of hiding in her bedroom, letting the sound exist in the center of the house. Grandma came over on Sundays, sat with a cup of tea, and listened without interrupting. When Chloe finished a piece, Grandma would nod, once the same small nod that meant approval without performance. One evening, about a year after the party, Chloe sat beside me on the couch and asked, "Mom, was Aunt Ashley right? Are you a freeloader?" The question made my chest ache, because cruelty has a way of echoing even after the people leave. I put my arm around her and pulled her close. "No," I said. "You and I have worked for every inch of our lives. Someone else paying their way doesn't make you a freeloader. It makes them dependent." Chloe stared at her hands for a moment, then whispered, "Did Grandma do it because of me?" "She did it because of you," I said, and because of herself. She got tired of watching the same pattern hurt the same people. Chloe nodded slowly, like a knot inside her was loosening. I don't want to be rich, she said. I just want to be free. I kissed the top of her head. That's the best kind of future, I told her. The next week, Grandma invited Chloe to her office after hours. Not for a photo shoot, not for a grand reveal. Just a walk through the workrooms, the cutting tables, the racks of fabric and sketches. Grandma introduced Chloe to the pattern makers and the floor manager, not as an heir, but as a student. Chloe asked questions. People answered. No one laughed at her curiosity. On the drive home, Chloe held her violin case in her lap and stared out the window. Mom, she said, voice quiet. I think I understand. Understand what? I asked. That they were never mad about what they said to me, she replied. They were mad that it didn't work anymore. I blinked, because hearing that clarity from a 13-year-old felt like watching a candlelight in a dark room. Yeah, I said. That's exactly it. Life didn't become perfect. We still had to watch our backs. We still had to keep records. But the noise changed. It stopped being a chorus of people allowed to hurt us. It became background static from people kept at a distance. And in the middle of that quiet, Chloe grew. I still replay that night, and don't regret it. So tell me, did Grandma Margaret do the right thing by reading the heirs list and cutting Ashley's family out, or did she go too far? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if you want more stories like this, hit subscribe.